It's Susulicious here, and today we're going to be making tiny benches in Tiny Glade. Before you get started, a setting I like to set is making sure the autofocus feature is turned off, as it sometimes defocuses things that are close to me and that can get in the way of building. Go to Settings, Video, Depth of Field, then toggle to No. So much better. First things first, tips and tricks to help with building the benches. You can now build really thin walls in this version of Tiny Glade. Something I like to do is start off by making a thick wall, and then I will drag the node to shrink it to size. This is also helpful because for some reason the game doesn't spawn the wall if it's too small to begin with. I also want you guys to know the difference between a block wall and a brick wall. At some point you will notice the wall will divide into 2 bricks. This is a great cue point that I like to use because I can tell when it's no longer going to be a block anymore. In this tutorial, we'll be using the block technique rather than the bricks, so it's good to become acquainted with this. I would also like you guys to get used to right-clicking blocks to move them. If you are unhappy with the wall that it has selected, I just like to click off to the left or the right and then try again. There are nodes in the game, these little white circles, which can be used for expanding the wall. These will pop up when you right click on any piece of structure, so any part of the wall. If you just click on the node and keep your mouse button pressed down and spin your mouse or pan your mouse around, it will move the direction of where the wall is facing. Now, be careful when rotating the wall, as it will also increase or decrease the size of the wall by making it thicker or thinner. It's good to fiddle around with this and just try and get used to it. A last tip is having blocks built in a spacious area and then moving them into place individually. If you want, you can start by making all the blocks first, so like all the block pieces you need. I will show you guys what you need for it, or you can just make them as you go along, placing them carefully one at a time if you kind of like to see what you're designing. Okay, so that's all the tips and tricks before getting started. I highly recommend pausing the video and having a go at some of these simple benches first, but it's completely up to you what you want to do next. Now let's get cooking. Here is everything you will need to start building the stone bench. So how you see these blocks laid out and structured in the video is how they need to be facing and looking to be able to assemble the bench. You will need 3 thick blocks, 6 thin blocks, 2 extra thin blocks, 9 medium blocks. Now I am just going to show you a speed build of how to place them to make the 3-seater stone bench. Booty file. Let's go through building a 4-seater variation of this bench together. I'm going to start off by making the skeleton of the bench, so the 2 arms of the bench, then the back of the bench. This is going to be a 4-seater bench, so we need 4 back support stones. Notice how I'm using the block technique, where I make a thick block, then shrink it to size to be a thin wall. You need to fiddle around and make some adjustments to have the walls perfectly aligned and look like they kind of have a clean finish. We're going to move on to the seats next, so 4 block of walls. Next, we have the back supports in a layer of wool, so 4 of those thin walls. Whilst we're at it, we will also need 4 more thin walls for the front of the bench, so let's go ahead and make those 2, since they're kind of the same type of wall. Let's talk about a design feature. Sometimes what happens is we don't get a block looking straight wall, but we get a split wall. This is to do with how the game spawns the wall variations randomly. A workaround I found is to make a new block and substitute it for the wall that is looking a bit funky. I'm going to use the other piece as a cushion stone piece instead, so it just doesn't go to waste. We need 4 of these pieces in total, so I will go ahead and make the other 3 now. Another design feature I want to talk about is that sometimes there can be deeply cast shadows or areas of your bench that feel empty or look empty. To fix this issue, sometimes I make an extra thin supporting piece that neatly tucks in and gets rid of those blank spots. I don't really have that issue with the 4-seater bench, so let's move on to colouring in our bench. A last design issue is that the game doesn't let you have everything the same colour. There is some slight colour variation even if you have the same colour picked. Sometimes I try to pick branching colour to fix this issue, but there is no real fix to this. We're just going to have to learn to be okay with our bench being a little bit imperfect and funky looking. I know, it's setting my OCD off as well, but we're just gonna have to. There we have it, a 4-seater bench. A last thing I want to mention is that you can't create these benches on paved roads because of how the brick starts arching. You can make them on grass, but you may need to use the cutting tool to split it into 2 or more pieces to look exact. That's it for this video, guys. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any videos you would like to see me do next, please comment it on this video. Don't be shy to ask questions on this video. I usually answer within the day. I will be making a couple of videos on Tiny Glade. The next one I have planned is a wooden bench tutorial, so stick around for that one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.